Welcome to this meeting of Babergh District Council. I'm Councillor Elizabeth Malvisi, Chair of Babergh District Council, and I'll be chairing this meeting this evening. First of all, may I remind you of some domestic arrangements. Toilets are situated outside the meeting room, opposite the stairs. Cold water is also available in the breakout area outside the meeting room. If the fire alarm should sound, please leave the meeting room by following the fire exit signs and meet on the Ipswich Town Football Club training pitch. Do not re-enter the building until you are told it is safe to so do. Please switch off all mobile phones or turn them to silent. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. The whole of the meeting will be filmed, except where there are confidential or exempt items. If you make a representation to the meeting, you will be deemed by the council to have consented to being filmed. By entering this meeting, you are also consenting to being filmed by the council and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and/or training purposes. The council, members of the public and the press may record, film, photograph or broadcast this meeting when the public and the press are not lawfully excluded. Now, I am moving item 12, councillor appointments, and item 13, the motion on notice, to be presented to the council after item 7 on the agenda, so that the closed session is at the end of tonight's meeting. Therefore, I move to the agenda. Henriette, Acting Head of Governance and Civic Office, do you have apologies?
Thank you, Chair. We have received apologies from Councillor Jessie Carter, Councillor Mary McLaren and Councillor Adrian Osborne.
Okay. Right, Council, I need to inform you that Miss Councillor Osborne is not with us tonight because his wife suffered a heart attack at the beginning of last week. She was taken to, I believe, Papworth, had a stent fitted, is back home and has to have bed rest. So if any of you wish to send your good wishes, I'm sure that we combined as a council wish her very well. Thank you. Now to resume with the agenda. Declaration of interest by councillors. The Acting Head of Governance, Henriette, will inform us of dispensation for councillor directors.
Thank you, Chair. This is relating to item 12 and 13. Councillor Directors has received dispensation from the Monitor Officer for these items.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors who need or wish to declare an interest? No. Okay, we move on to confirmation of the minutes of the meeting held. Sorry. Councillor Maybury.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Chairman.
I didn't see you.
I didn't hear what was said about dispensation. Could that be repeated, please?
Yes.
I'm very sorry, Councillor Maybury. The Council's directors have received dispensation from the Monitor Officer. This is relating to item 12 and 13 on the agenda.
Okay. Moving on. Paper BC/24/19 to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of September 2024 for accuracy only. Are there any issues with accuracy? Councillor Reeves?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. 2 points for me. Sometime after 44.17, I believe, I also asked a question if there would be any financial impact on Suffolk County Council from the point of view of the contract with the incinerator being affected by our move away from incinerating rubbish to going to an aerobic digester. That was the main crux of the question.
I must confess I thought it had been answered.
But I asked the question and it's not in here.
Okay.
For accuracy of the minute, it's not in the minutes.
I do recall, because the answer was the
Yes, and it
question was answered.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other matter, 44.26, I most certainly did not issue any plea for residents to do anything. The point I was making was that I was questioning what was essentially a knee-jerk response to recycling as being, you know, a good in itself, whatever we were recycling, and it was against food recycling, really. And so I was reminding us that we were supposed to be concerning ourselves with reduce, reuse, recycle. I was not issuing any plea to residents. They already do that wherever they can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other issues on accuracy? Councillor Davis?
Thank you. It's just a clarification. 49.5, when we're talking about housing, and I've mentioned there that I'd like to see all veterans, and the wording there is ex-military officers. What I would like in there really is military families serving and ex, all ranks, Army, Navy and Air Force.
Okay, just
Thank you.
have you got that? Okay, thank you very much. Any other issues in respect of accuracy? Okay, now I move forward. Could I have a proposer, please? Councillor Busby? Councillor Hurren? Thank you. Is it a show of hands? Can I have a show of hands, please? Carried. Paper BC/24/20, announcements from the chairman and leader. I ask you, councillors, to note. Yes, Councillor Maybury.
Thank you, Chairman. Looking through some old paperwork, as we
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Looking through old paperwork, as we often do, in 2017 we still had the fact that there would be a fine if mobile phones went off during a meeting, and the money went towards what would be your chairman's fund.
Is this on the agenda?
No, but I'm just commenting that we keep hearing all this bleeping, and perhaps those councillors who have bleepers would like to pay a fine for the chairman's fund.
Thank you very much. It is the yeah. Fair enough. Everybody and anybody who has their computer open, can you put your speakers on silent? Please. Okay. We move on to the announcement by myself and the leader. I ask you to note mine, and I now hand over to Councillor Saw to make her announcements.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
A new government is a catalyst for change. Its thinking and policies reverberate from Westminster to Suffolk and impact this council and ultimately our residents in Babergh. The last few weeks has given us some clarity as to how this mission-driven government might affect what we do, and I'm not just talking about the pale of gloom that descends when anyone speaks about tomorrow's budget. I have spoken before of the mixed messages district councils have been getting from government. We have been promised a fundamental reset in the relationship between local and central government, ending the politics that have seen Westminster hoard power, Well, that sounded encouraging, particularly when Angela Rayner talks about a relationship based on mutual respect, genuine collaboration, and meaningful engagement. However, a great deal of time this month has been spent reminding central government how important district councils are as the frontline delivery arm of its missions. I chaired a session for ILGA on local community energy, at which the regional manager for the National Energy Systems Operator spoke. NESO is responsible for overseeing the strategic planning and design of the country's energy networks. It's only been operating since the 1st of October, but it's pivotal in securing the objective of a clean power system by 2030 and a net zero economy by 2050. To achieve this, each region will have a regional energy strategic plan, and each region will have a strategic board made up of local and devolved government and the network companies. We had to remind NESO that district councils were the planning authorities, so it might be a good idea for us to be represented on the board. We have now had it confirmed that the government's preferred structure for devolution is a combined authority led by a directly elected mayor, and we will get a white paper and bill early next year. The 4 Suffolk district councils and Ipswich Borough remain committed to working in partnership with Suffolk County Council, neighbouring authorities and the government to get the best outcomes for all Suffolk residents, but district councils need to have a defined role in these structures. At the LGA conference, ministers focused on how local government could co-design and co-produce policy with it, and I'm happy, not to mention relieved, to see that the chair of the DCN has a seat at the Leaders' Council, which will be a regular forum to discuss strategic questions impacting local government. I was delighted to have been invited by the Suffolk Chamber of Commerce to its summit, the Suffolk Convention, which brought together all 8 Suffolk MPs, senior business people, council leaders and senior officers, plus representatives from the health, voluntary and media sectors to work on achieving the best outcomes for Suffolk. The summit started with some home truths about what Westminster and Whitehall think about Suffolk. Well, it seemed that they hardly thought about Suffolk at all. This spurred on all participants to think about how we could influence the new government and get a greater share of any funding that was available. The consensus was that all stakeholders in Suffolk needed to speak with one voice and develop a recognisable, engaging brand that can position the county constructively and consistently to policymakers. The idea of Suffolk connecting, powering and feeding the UK neatly articulated the region's excellence in supporting trade, energy generation and agriculture and agritech. Also helping the government achieve its missions of kick-starting economic growth and making the UK a green energy superpower. But in doing that, Suffolk needed the transport connectivity, skills and environmental infrastructure to support that mission. There was a view that Suffolk could develop innovative ways of compensating and engaging local communities around infrastructure development. There was a feeling in the room that there was a limited window to frame our message as the government was moving at pace with its growth plans. I'm glad to report that the Suffolk Business Board is also moving at pace with its economic plan, which the Babergh and Mid-Suffolk plans will feed into. However, in the here and now, the council held its liaison meeting with town and parish councils. Participants were focused on what changes to planning policy would mean for their communities. If you listened to the Today programme last Friday and Saturday, you would have heard Nick Robinson broadcasting from Ipswich, and you might have even shouted at the radio when he spent time talking about NIMBYs in communities and local councils stopping development, and one of our social housing providers decrying how long it takes councils to approve planning applications. This at a time when more than 1 million homes granted planning permission since 2015 have not yet been built. It's too easy to blame councils. The whole system needs reform. We and many other councils have developers telling us they cannot find a social housing company willing to take their Section 106 homes. Like us, social housing companies are facing financial constraints as they seek to upgrade their existing homes in an effort to come up with solutions. We will be holding a summit with registered providers to see if we can come up with mutual solutions to this problem. I do not look forward to tomorrow's budget bringing us a solution to our challenges. In fact, it will give us more. Employers' national insurance contributions, possibly a levy on employers' contributions to pensions. We look forward to the promised multi-year settlements, but that's Jan tomorrow. Currently, we are totally focused on not only next year's budget, but the years after that. It's a challenge we have to meet, and we will. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saul. There is no debate on this matter or comment. However, if the content of Councillor Saw's speech has raised some points which you wish to be clarified, then I will hear them. Any clarification? No? Thank you very much. Moving on to receive notification of petitions in accordance with the Council Procedure Rules.
None received, Chair.
Questions by the public in accordance with Council procedures.
Thank you, Chair. We have received a question from the members of the public, from Mr. Ferguson, who is not present at the meeting today, so I ask that the Chair reads out the question on his behalf.
I'll read it. Have you got a copy of it? Wait a minute. Okay. Question 1. Alan Ferguson to Councillor John Ward, Cabinet Member for Finance, Assets and Investments. Background. At the Council meeting held on the 6th of October 2022, I asked the Cabinet Member for Finance, Assets and Investments to let me see the risk assessment of Babergh's ability to deliver the redevelopment of Corks Lane on time and on cost. He refused that request, saying, firstly, the contract to Gipping has been awarded on a fixed price basis, based on the specification and employers' requirements. And secondly, Babergh will ensure that we get delivery on time. As for the profit I keep hearing about, the first phase is marginal, which is the conversion of the original building. The overall project will deliver a profit. Now, the question Mr. Ferguson asks is, clearly those assurances have proven meaningless, as Babergh is now reporting that there will be a loss on the scheme currently estimated at around 3 million. How will the individuals responsible for this failure to protect the financial interests of Babergh taxpayers be held to account? And what was the result of the inquiry made by Arling Close to how the 3 million loss is going to impact on the general budget, and how will this impact on Babergh Council taxpayers? Councillor Ward, do you wish to give your reply?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I will reply to that. We will not know the final position with the Corks Lane development until it has been completed and all properties have been sold. Until that time, financial position can only be based on estimates and forecasts. This project has been about our investment in Hadley and ensuring that we deliver a scheme that provides a sympathetic conversion of the historic elements of the site, retaining original features and character and bringing the heritage elements to the fore, whilst also delivering 49 new, high-quality and well-designed homes in a prime location that will contribute to the need for housing in the town. I have no doubt they will sell quickly. It is an excellent repurposing of a site that has no other possible use, giving the buildings a new lease of life for the future. We have been open in acknowledging that it has been a challenging project, with timing and costs being impacted greatly by the pandemic and its aftermath and the war in Ukraine, but not embarking on it and leaving the site derelict has never been an option. As with all major projects, there will be an independent review following completion. We did identify risks associated with the loan to BDC Growth Limited in the Council's significant risk register. And as part of mitigating against this risk, an expected credit loss reserve was established as part of the budget report in February 2024. Ultimately, any loss depends upon final sales values achieved. If there is a loss, advice received has suggested that it should be spread over the life of the asset, i.e. a minimum of 30 years. Thank you.
We now move on to questions by councillors in accordance with council procedure rules.
None received, Chair.
Thank you, Henriette. I am now moving to item 12 and then item 13 on the agenda. Councillor appointments. The appointment is listed on the agenda. Are there any further changes to these appointments? No? Okay. And so can I have a proposer, please, to Councillor Saw and Councillor Davis? Thank you very much. You're agreeing to the following appointment, which is for Jane Carruthers to sit on the Sustainable Transport Working Group. We'll now conduct an electronic vote.
Thank you, Chair. Members, that vote is now in progress. Councillor Riley? Agreed. Councillor Beer?
Definitely agree.
Thank you. Councillor Heron? Agreed.
Okay.
Henriette. Ruth wants to reverse her vote.
If you want to change your vote, it's fine. You can change your vote now. Four. Thank you. Thank you, members. That's 29 votes for, so that's carried.
Thank you very much. And we now move to the motions on notice. To consider the motion on notice received from Councillor Holt. Councillor Holt, would you like to move to your motion?
Thank you, Chair. The motion is really the governance model, and it simply reads as you've got in front of you. This council will commit to consider returning to a committee system at its scheduled meeting in January 2025. If council resolves to do so, implementation to a committee system will commence from the annual council meeting in May 25.
Please.
Yes, I'd like to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Nunn. Councillor Saw?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
In line with Green policy, I completely support the need to regularly review our leadership and governance structures to ensure that we are democratically fit for purpose both now and into the future. That said, I do not think now is the right time for this review, as we have a particularly tricky budget coming up, and I think our residents would expect us and our officers to be laser focused on working together across the chamber on the difficult decisions that this presents. Government is also poised to progress further devolution in England, which may be linked to local government reorganisation. There is therefore no point in us discussing our governance model until we have clarity of the government's plans. We are expecting to hear slightly more about this in the budget tomorrow, and then through a white paper and bill in the new year. As a Green administration, I understand that the leader of Mid Suffolk has publicly committed to reviewing their council's governance structure during this council's term. Whilst we are sovereign councils, it would be irrational and inefficient not to coordinate with Mid-Suffolk in relation to the timing of such reviews. I understand Mid-Suffolk's leader will be initiating their review at the annual meeting next May. As a result, I would like to propose the following minor amendments. Replacing the word January with 2025-26, replacing the words "it's scheduled" with "a", deleting the words "in May 2025" and inserting the word "next." So the amended motion would now read, this council will commit to consider a return to a committee system at a council meeting in 2025-26. If council resolves to do so, implementation to a committee system would commence from the next annual council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. I now need a seconder, please, for the amendment. Councillor Jameson, thank you. Councillor Holt, do you accept this amendment?
No.
Okay, we now move into a debate on the amendment. Councillors will only be allowed to speak once on the amendment and for a maximum period of 3 minutes, which will be timed. When the debate has finished, we will then hold a vote. So who wishes to open the debate? Councillor Holt, would you wish to open the debate since you're against it?
I'm for it.
No, I mean the amendment, sorry.
The opportunity to speak at the end.
You can, but you may wish to open why you've said no.
So no. So on the amendment, Councillor Saw can speak twice because she's moved the amendment. Every other councillor can speak once. Obviously, once we move back to the original motion, either amended or otherwise, just on the amendment at this stage.
Okay. I love politics. The way of booting things into the long grass. I love it. Members, I brought this motion to you this evening due to the administration not being prepared to honour the decision taken by the previous council back in 2022 to allow a newly elected council of May 23 to consider which form of governance model it wished to adopt. The first discussion on this subject was back in September 21 when Councillors Robert Lindsay and Councillor Lee Jameson, who sits opposite me this evening, brought this discussion to the full council, re the governance model and changing it back to committee system. Our times changed, Lee. Subsequently, a paper was brought back to full council in March 22 when it was agreed to defer any decision to a newly elected council. There are 18 members of that council who were re-elected to the current council. I find it strange that we have not had this brought forward to this new council for debate. I brought this up again in July 23 at full council and was told this would be looked at. Nothing happened for 6 months. So I put in a formal question to full council in January 24. Again, nothing has happened. And here we are today, October 24. Councillor Saw has these great proposals about what to do about it. Kick it into the long grass. I believe strongly, like others, that we should respect the decision made by the previous council and not let it be forgotten. It surely is the right and democratic thing to do. What I'm asking for is that this council be given the opportunity to debate this subject at full council with a balanced paper presenting the options available, as previously recommended, and that the council decides on its governance model. Interestingly, Councillor Saw mentioned a tricky budget. Well, that's going to be the case for the foreseeable future, isn't it? So we can bring that one up every year if you want to and debate this or not, kick it in the long grass. Clarity from government. When has there ever been clarity from a government? We'll be waiting forever for that one. And our neighbours, Mid-Suffolk, I'm sorry, I don't give two hoots what they think about us going back to a committee system. It's our choice. We are a sovereign council. we shouldn't be reliant on them to guide us about what to do about our governance model. So that's my view on it today, and I look forward to hearing other members' views. Thank you.
Councillor Ward.
Yeah, the previous, we can't really focus on what the previous council said or didn't say. We're a new council, new Suffolk council, we make our own decisions.
Councillor Ward, can you speak up, please?
Sorry, I'll try. As I said, we can't focus on what any previous council has said. We're a new council and we make our own separate decisions. The timing is actually quite critical on this. Councillor Saw's not saying not to bring this to council. It's just that the council meeting in January is the wrong one. Our officers, particularly our finance team, are incredibly busy at the moment. The budget work, not just for us, but for two councils, is taking up a huge amount of time. They're under a lot of pressure. This proposal would require a full paper with options drawn up and costed, and there just simply isn't the time to do this before January. I'm not here to debate the rights and wrongs of the committee system versus the cabinet system. It's just a matter of when is the right time to do it. And Councillor Saw has articulated the reasons for delay or postponement, and then coordinating with Mid-Suffolk quite clearly. And that issue of Mid-Suffolk is not something we can ignore. It's going to be almost impossible if the two councils didn't work in partnership with this, because again, the officers would have to work with two councils operating two different systems. So the reasons that Councillor Saw has put in proposing her amendment are just not only valid, but they are crucial to ensuring that we can go forward and have a proper debate on this at the right time in the future.
Councillor Jameson, then Councillor McGraw.
Thank you, Chair. Further to what Councillor Holt said, my opinion hasn't changed from 21. When I seconded that motion in 21, I wanted us to have a fair debate on the committee system. Members on both sides of this room pushed that into the long grass back then. They didn't want to debate it then. They pushed it to this council. Now, I feel if we go with the debate in January, we won't get a fair and unclouded debate, because there will be concerns with the budget that have been mentioned by Councillor Ward and Councillor Saw, and that will have effect on people's opinions on whether we go to... I mean, there's no point having a debate about a committee system if we're not prepared to go to a committee system. The fears for the budget will have a bearing on that decision. So we discuss it in January, it's going to be affected by the debate, the thoughts of the upcoming budget. So January, we will not have a fair debate in January, and the decision will not be made, we may not be able to make a clear decision. So I feel that doing it then is the wrong time. I have not changed my mind at all that we need a debate, and I want a debate on it, but I feel it should be pushed back to later in the year, when we can actually when we can focus on the committee system, whether the committee system is the right thing to do, which people in this chamber can make an opinion. But yeah, that is why I think we should push it back.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McGraw.
Thank you, Chair. I'm indebted to Councillor Owen for providing us with an email in the last week which summarised all the motions and discussions that had taken place previously. And it's been very useful to be able to go through this. As it referred to in the message, a number of councillors have mentioned that they've got experience over their years on council of both systems, both the committee and cabinet. Now, as Councillor Ward has said, I don't think we're here today to debate the merits of one system over the other. I will be honest, I was opposed to cabinet system in the past for some of the reasons that have been mentioned in the proposal. My views have changed, and those views have changed not because of political advantage, as you might suggest, or being a cabinet member. I changed my views before I was a cabinet member, and I'm talking about an operating effective governance model that works for this council and both councils. Well, I'm trying to explain what my point is here, that we cannot be out of step with the council we work with in partnership. To be proposing to switch horses in midstream when they are not doing so, as has been pointed out, would add additional costs at the very perfectly wrong moment as we're preparing budgets. It would also have a massive budget impact, exacerbating the problems we already have. We can't do this now. We should do this with our partner council, and we should do it sensibly and have a proper debate on the subject. Now, as I recall, our then monitoring officer, Emily Yule, presented a whole group of models which proposed different versions of a committee system or different versions of a cabinet system, if you like, a hybrid. Those should be and could be debated. But an all-or-nothing approach in the middle of a term makes no financial sense, it makes no common sense, and frankly, it feels like shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic. We have got a big problem to deal with right now. Let's get on with that, and let's do it with our partners.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, I'll try and keep it reasonably brief, but I'll pick up the three... Pardon?
You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I know that. I'll try and pick up the 3 points. It's mentioned by the members opposite about delaying it. You've already delayed it. You've delayed it by at least 2 years. You promised you'd bring it back, and you may smile, Councillor Ward, but you said this would be coming back to us. You said this to Councillor Holt. But anyway, it hasn't come back. You keep pushing it away. You've no intention of bringing it back in time. And really, you should be honest. The other point you make, when the time is right, you refer to the budget, you refer to the finance. Well, you know only too well that the finance and the budgets come round all the time. Our officers are experts. We pay them a lot of council tax money. They can do these jobs quite clearly if they're instructed to do it. But the will is not from the opposition there, from the administration, sorry, at all. So you need to really look at this. And another point, Mid-Suffolk, we're a sovereign council. Many times I've heard members opposite stand up and say that we must remain a sovereign council and we do our thing. Mid-Suffolk can go ahead and do theirs. We may be joined a little bit at the hip, but is there a back door to a united Suffolk, Mid-Suffolk and Babergh? All these things, it stinks. The whole thing is that you're trying to stop this debate happening. And you can say about the business of the devolution. I mean, we all know that's been going on. Well, some of them you won't know, but I've been involved in that for the last 10 years. It comes along, we make suggestions, the local boroughs and people get together, and at the end of the day, it all fizzles away, like it's done this time. They now want us to go forward with an elected mayor. More than half of the people involved don't want an elected mayor. I personally wouldn't worry me at all. But all these things are there to stop it. They won't happen, and we'll just get to a state where you will have delayed this and been dishonest with your promises. It's convenient for you to keep the ideas of the previous administration, like in car parking charges, but something like this, when you wanted to get a discussion on committees or cabinet, you don't want to know. Of course, I suppose half of you would lose your jobs, of course. Thank you.
Councillor Maybury next, and then Councillor Owen. Okay?
Thank you, Chairman. Mine's not going to be very long, so you're all in for a treat. What I don't understand from our leader is the fact that we have to pay second fiddle to Mid-Suffolk.
Yes.
If you...
Can you speak up?
It's that.
I'm too tall. Would you like to and make sure that we have equipment for tall people, please.
Can't afford it.
Well, exactly. I don't understand why we have to play second fiddle to Mid-Suffolk. If you actually look on the logo, it says Babergh and Mid-Suffolk. So should not Babergh be making the path for this to happen? Now, I understand from the monitoring officer, not the one we have, but the ones we've had before, who have actually said that doing this change takes time. So we should be discussing it now, ready for the next elected administration. We should be doing it now. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't believe, once again, we're just chucking this into the long grass. It's about time we've done something. I've been on the council since 2019. I've never had a committee system, never. I don't feel that I have had a say, as much as I should have had a say in the full council, especially when it came down to Sudbury and the car parking charges, which affected us dearly. I didn't find that I had a say in that. When they started on our park, our beloved park, and wanted to build great big flats there, I don't think I had a lot of say there. I might have put my questions forward, but nothing was listened to. We've got to now start having this debate. It's now. Now's the time for the debate. I can't go back and tell my constituency that we haven't tried to have this debate. It's about time we done it. Now's the time.
Thank you. Does any other councillor wish to talk on the amendment regarding the timing? Councillor Grant. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
You're more than welcome.
I feel we do need to talk about this now. As has been mentioned, it's been put forward in the past and we haven't had our opportunity. I'm not going to talk about the pros and cons of the two different systems because that's not what we're trying to do at this moment. But I would like to have our council have the opportunity to do so in January, not wait until the future, and not let this council be dependent on what's going on in another council. We've always tried to have our own independence here, and so I would like to make our own decision on how we when we discuss this, and that's all we're trying to do at this minute. We're just trying to make a decision about when we debate it, when a paper can come forward. So we're not actually at this moment today making a decision on which system we will go forward with. We're simply asking for it to come forward to debate as soon as we can. And I think January is the right time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Parker. Just before you start, Councillor Saw, if you will be wrapping this up because it's your amendment, so I need to ask the members if anybody wishes to. Yeah, okay, thank you. Councillor Parker?
Yep, thank you, Chair. And it's really as a point of clarification because, if I'm being absolutely fair, I understand the cynicism of those members in the room who are concerned that here we go again with this debate. So I think if we are to offer support, because I equally think that to say that we're a sovereign council, it's just too simplistic. Frankly, we're sharing the same staff, so it seems illogical that you would have two different interpretations of administration. But I do share colleagues' concerns and their cynicisms around when this is going to come back. So I think Councillor Saw, you could go a long way by clarifying and assuring council that this is definitely going to come back? And is there any way of building that in so that we know with absolute clarity and certainty that it is going to come back finally for a proper debate? I think we'd go a long way to assuaging councillors' concerns. Thank you.
Councillor Busby?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm kind of interested in the motives behind bringing this motion forward. For those that weren't here 20 years ago and ever since, we used to operate under a committee system. In fact, we were unusual in that we had the fourth option. In fact, I was the representative for Babergh on the national committee of the fourth option, FOSSIG. We were fighting to get more councils to operate under a committee system because most of them had gone to Cabinet. And we continued to operate under the committee system when there was no overall control. It only changed, funnily enough, when the Tories managed to gain control over the council and decided to switch to Cabinet. I don't know what the motive behind that was, but it seemed a little suspicious. And now they haven't got control. They seem to want to come back to committee. Now, the only reason I can possibly think of going to committee instead of being Cabinet is to be involved, perhaps. Most of the committees are the same. It's only the key committee where it's a Cabinet. Yes. Yes. Yes, I'm coming to that. The only difference being whether it's a Cabinet or a strategic committee. And the difference being that you have representation, proportional representation on the strategic committee that you don't necessarily get in Cabinet. If you wanted representation, you should have accepted my offer when we first set this council together of being on the Cabinet. You turned it down. You turned down the option to be on Cabinet. So I'm sorry, I have no sympathy with you now coming and saying you need to have control. We would be mad to do this now. If you don't understand our financial position, I think you should read the financial papers that the team put out. We're still, despite all our efforts, probably in excess of £1 million short. To do this ad hoc in January will cost us money. There is nothing we should be doing at the moment that isn't essential that's going to cost us money. This can wait, and wait it should do, not just bring it forward for your convenience in January. Thank you.
Councillor Busby. Councillor Rees?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was just going to say that Councillor Busby was debating the motion that we wanted to have in January.
Yes. I think Councillor Busby was giving some background as to why we're...
No, he was criticising. He was criticising
with the chair?
here. Yes, Madam. Sorry, Madam Chairman. But I feel very strongly that he was criticising.
And my reflection suggested that we think of our words and how we deliver them. Obviously, the reflection didn't last very long. Do you wish to speak in favour or against the amendment, Councillor? Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, I'd just like to make the point that with reference to Councillor Ward's assertion that we don't worry about things that were decided in the last administration, wasn't it one of the reasons that we were given to bring forward the parking charges decision? Because it was something that was discussed and agreed in the last administration. So it would be a good idea to have it put forward now. Thank you.
Can we have one meeting, please, and not half a dozen? Councillor Riley?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The amendment. We are debating the amendment. Yes. Right, thank you. And I would like to congratulate Councillor Saw and other people. We are really inventive at finding reasons not to do something. It is money. It is, we're out of sync with Suffolk. We're out of sync with Suffolk. We're out of sync with the county. There's changes coming down the road. You know, there's lots of reasons not to do anything, but there are plenty of reasons to do something, and that's what this is all about. It's about moving forward. It's about talking, aren't we good at it, from, you know, whether we should move away from what we have at the moment. Is Cabinet working? Opinion. Would it be better if we had committees? More opinion. And that is what the debate will be about in January. Let's not kick this can down the road. There's always reasons not to do something. We have here an opportunity to go forward and do something. Let's do it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Clover, did you wish to speak? I thought I saw a hand going up, but no? Okay. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on the amendment? Councillor Davis?
I have to say, it's not that we are so undemocratic at the moment. I work as the planning portfolio holder. I work on several committees and panels where it's across the floor, whether it comes to enforcement or the JLP or SIL. It is not that we are some sort of totalitarian cabinet at the moment. And I must have different residents than Councillor Owen, because I don't think my residents care at all about our governance structure. That is really not what they are bothered about. And it's not that we are, a super centralised cabinet system at the moment. There's all sorts of policy making goes on across the board. I think our residents would think, what on earth are they doing at this particular time? Changing things. In my planning portfolio, I have got things coming from central government at me. I've got the prospect of us having to build 763 homes per year. I've got, nice, you tell that to some of the residents. 706, but I've got this coming at me. We've got the change to the MPPF. We've got somehow to solve the problem of affordable social homes. And in the midst of this, we're supposed to change our government structure. I cannot believe this has come forward at this time. And actually, what our amendment is saying, that we are committing to discussing that. And actually, when we promise something, when we're committing to it, we are committing to it. If we could give you a date, we would. What you have essentially said is that you don't trust us. Well, I'm saying you can trust us. We will let us debate this. Well, okay, I wasn't there 2 years ago. I wasn't there 2 years ago. I was not there 2 years ago. We should not debate this now. It will cause chaos.
One more remark from any of the Conservatives and you will leave the chamber, okay? You will respect the other members' opportunity to say their bit. Councillor Saw, you can propose the motion or the amendment to the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In response to remarks from members opposite, I have said that as a Green councillor, Green councillors are in favour of a committee system, but I'm also in favour of operational efficiency. And as many members have said, it is not feasible to change the structure currently. Officers are, as Councillor Davies has said, and Councillor Ward, officers are completely focused on delivering the budget. Members opposite, cabinet members, have been working for months on the budget as it is. We have asked officers to work practically around the clock to get a budget that we can deliver. You have said that we are sovereign councils. I have said that we are sovereign councils, but we are a partnership. It would be putting an intolerable burden on officers to run a cabinet system for one council and a committee system for another. But having said that, I can confirm that we are, and Mid Suffolk is very willing to discuss the committee versus cabinet system, and we will do so. But our first priority is to deliver a balanced budget. Nothing else matters more. So therefore, I commend the amendment and ask that members consider it very carefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Saw. Councillor Holt, you proposed the motion.
Might be a point of order, but if I could just raise something.
It has to be a point of order.
Well, Councillor Saw was commenting about the officers are extremely busy and that they haven't got time. But speaking to the previous monitoring officer about this situation, she was quite clear to me in her comments that if council so wished and they voted for something, then they, officers, would have to deliver it. So I think we just have to be clear on that.
Thank you.
Do you want me to clarify that?
Yes, I'm going to ask the Chief Executive to clarify that, please.
So, thank you, Chairman. Yes, so I'm happy to clarify, and it is, as you referenced there, Councillor Holt, that clearly if Council decides something, then the officers need to implement that as a result. The one bit I would add to that, of course, is you don't have infinite resource, however. So I will often push back and say that if you want me to do this, what can I get to stop doing instead? So there is a balance in that. But you're absolutely right. If Council decides it, then we need to implement it.
We now move to the vote. And it's an electronic vote, just in case.
And just for clarity, members, on the amendment.
Yes, on the amendment.
Thank you, members. That vote is now in progress and you're voting on the amendment.
I hand over to Councillor Saw because she's got it in front of her. I don't.
So the amended motion would read, this council will commit to consider a return to a committee system at a council meeting in 2025-26. If council resolves to do so, implementation to a committee system would commence from the next annual council meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Riley, may I have your vote, please?
I am against the amendment.
And Councillor Beer?
I am definitely against the amendment.
Councillor Maybury?
I'm going to verbally vote.
Certainly.
I do not particularly like the wording on here, so I am against the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Maybury. Thank you, members. That is 19 for and 10 against the amendment.
Okay, thank you very much to everyone who's participated.
Go back to the original motion, but as amended.
Yes. We now revert to the original motion as amended. So,
And everyone has 3 minutes again.
yeah.
So just for clarity, the amendment is carried, so you'll now revert to the original motion as amended. And so you go back into debate on that now amended motion. So every councillor has 3 minutes to speak again on the now amended motion.
If you wish, or we can move straight to the vote.
If you wish to move straight to the vote, somebody needs to move that and somebody needs to say... Yeah, there we go, look at that.
Okay. Sorry?
Councillor Holt wants to speak.
Say something? You have 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes. I made some notes here, very interesting. We're not going to honour the previous council's decision. Fine, that's fantastic. Councillor Ward, you sort of dismissed the thought that the full council previously, which you voted for, had proposed something to give this council an opportunity to debate. You dismissed it. Fine, that's good. Impossible to change without Big Suffolk. Joined at the hip, merger by stealth, all things that come to mind. Interesting. Nice for the public to now know that we're joined with Miss Suffolk and we can't separate. This can only be done at an AGM in May. So by kicking it into 2025, you're now looking at May 27, or election year. Will we really want to make a decision then on the governance model? Or we would defer it to the next administration. So if you can interrupt, I did it earlier, so I'm happy with that. Councillor Ward, again, not recognising the decision. Same with car parking, came forward, didn't recognise it, came forward, all that. Residents not being heard. How many times have we heard that? it does seem that us elected representatives get very little opportunity with the cabinet model. Having been in both, like many members here today, I've seen both sides. I've worked both sides. I thought the cabinet was great when I was in it. I'm not in it. I'm working the other side. I can see why John Hint and the likes didn't like it, because you do feel as though you're out of everything, without a voice, without a vote. Our residents see it when there's something contentious comes up. Parking was one of them. Babergh growth, you could argue, might be another one we're going to discuss. So there's things like that when our residents look at us, Hadley, Sudbury residents, and you speak on their behalf, knowing full well that it's going to fall on deaf ears. So I think there's a lot that we can do to make the public have more faith and trust in us. And I find this approach is only going to continue their thoughts at the moment that they have done. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, if you can assist, just for clarification, because Councillor Holt raised the point of when implementation would take place. So if I've understood the amendment correctly, my interpretation of that would be that the debate would take place in the next financial year, so from May 2025, and would have to happen before end of March, April 2026. If it was then implemented at the next available annual meeting, which Councillor Holt correctly raised the fact that that's the time at which these things have to be implemented, so that would be implementation from May 2026, not May 2027.
Sorry, did not Councillor say it could be brought forward 25 to 26? Was that reference to a financial year?
That was reference to the debate and the financial year.
Okay, Councillor Ward.
We've spent quite a bit of time discussing the amendment, and we've agreed the amendment now. I really don't think there's any point in further discussion, so I'm proposing that we go straight to the vote on this.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Busby. We move to the vote.
Thank you, members. That vote is now in progress on the app. Councillor Riley.
I for the motion.
Sorry, it's got my name against it. I'm not.
So,
The amended
it's the amended motion you're voting for. So, Councillor Holt proposed. Excuse me. Let me know.
Yeah.
So, Councillor Holt proposed a motion. We then went into an amendment. The amendment was carried, so it's still Councillor Holt's motion, but it has been amended as the substantive motion. Is that clear? Is that right?
Okay.
So you're voting on the amended motion. Thank you. Councillor Riley? Against. Councillor Beer? Against. Councillor Riley? Against. Councillor Riley?
I'm against.
Against. Thank you. Councillor Mabry would. Oh. Thank you, members. That vote is now completed. We have 19 votes for, 8 votes against, and 1 abstention, so that's carried.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ward.
Can I just get clarification from the group opposite? They have now voted against a motion to debate whether we go to cabinet.
Madam Chairman, on a point of order, we should not be allowed to address the council after we've taken the vote. And he knows that.
Okay, it's just
right. So we're moving on with the agenda. The vote has been taken. You had the debate. The vote has been taken twice. Okay. We now move to the exclusion of the public, which term includes the press. To consider whether, pursuant to Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act of 1972, the public should be excluded from the meeting for the business specified below, on the grounds that if the public were present during these items, it is likely that there would be the disclosure to them of exempt information as indicated against each item. I now require a proposer. Councillor Parker?
Yeah, can I just speak, Chair? Would that be in order? Because we're a councillor missing, but in anticipation of possibly quite a lengthy session, can we have a comfort break or not?
Members? Before we go to closed session, would you like a... Okay?
Some yeses and some no's.
Right. I'm going for a 5-minute break. Okay? John,
I'm sorry, but if somebody is feeling unwell, I don't think much of the comment that I heard from over there. And I think that is absolutely wrong, and I would like an apology. Because if they were feeling unwell, I don't think we would say that to them. So I'm after an apology. Otherwise, it's called a code of conduct.
Ma'am? So are you referring to my suggestion that there's an alternative to getting a lift?
Yes, I am, because if they have come together, they are actually saving money anyway, and expense. So I don't see why you should be saying, if someone is unwell, that they should be using the train. It doesn't matter in which direction. I remember when Councillor Grandon was unwell, at a planning meeting, I offered to take her home.
On behalf of the Chamber and the members in it, I will apologise to you so we can move on. Thank you very much. We are now readdressing the issue of exclusion of the public, which term includes the press, to consider whether, pursuant to Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act of 1972, the public should be excluded from the meeting for the business specified below on the grounds that if the public were present during these items, it is likely that there would be the disclosure to them of exempt information as indicated against each item. Do I have a proposer, please? Councillor Ward, and a seconder? Councillor Busby, thank you very much. We do have to vote on it. I will now ask the Acting Head of Governance and Civic Office to conduct the electronic vote.
We can do a show of hands.
We'll do a show of hands. I think that may be quicker.
All those in favour?
Yeah.
All those in favour? That's carried.
It's carried.
Yeah.